Hello everyone, welcome you all. In my previous videos, we have seen how we can perform data-driven testing using file or using Excel file or data generator or grid. In this video, I'm going to show you how to perform data-driven testing using database. So database is nothing but which contains multiple tables and the tables contains the data. And we are going to take the data and pass the data as an input to the request. And this we can achieve by using JDBC. So the data driven testing using JDBC. So here JDBC means Java Database Connectivity. So this is the one of the option which is provided in READYAPI by which we can perform the data driven testing. So in this we will take the data from the database, and it can be any database, not only MySQL, it can be Oracle or MySQL or any other database. And especially in this video I'll show you on MySQL database. So first of all, let me just go to my database, MySQL database. I already installed my MySQL workbench and along with the MySQL complete database, in which we have a world database. Inside this, we have some tables. And if I just write a query here, I'm using world table, and in this using world. So this is my database. In this, we have a table called country. I say select the star from country. So when I execute these queries, and I will get some data here, and you can just look at here, the countries table is having some code, country names, continent, region, and so on. So many columns we have. So I'm going to use this data as part of data driven testing. Especially I need some code, some name of the countries, and along with this ISO codes. So this is a basically database which contains a table, and table contains some data. And now I'm going to use this data as part of data driven testing. Now, first of all, let me open my SoapUI. And once you open your SoapUI, let us import a new Soap project. So for that, we need to have one visual. So I'm opening or importing Football API, which I already used in my previous videos. Just click on the project, and it is asking for Soap project. And visual document we have to select. So you can say visual definition Soap and say copy the visual URL. And then I say create project. Then it is importing all the APIs from my project. And when you go to APIs, you can see two versions. I'm just removing the one of this version. All right, so now if I just expand this, you can see different type of request. And by using this visual, I can create a test suite. Right click on this and generate test suite. And here, I don't want all the requests. I'm just selecting deselect all. I'm just taking countries request or country step, and one test case will create for this particular operation. Now I'll say okay, and this is suite name. I simply say test suite, say okay. Now this is my suite name, test suite is my suite, or if you want to just rename it, you can just rename it. Right click rename. I'll say my test suite. So under my test suite, we have a one test case, countries test case. Inside this, we have a one step, country step. And when I open this country step, you can see in different views here, XML, raw, outline form. I can just go to XML. And here, whichever country we are passing, in the response, we will get the country name along with the country ISO code. So for example, let's pass India here. And when I send this request, in the response, in the XML response, you can see country name along with the ISO code. So now what I want to do is, I'll just take country name and ISO code. So these two inputs from the database, I will pass the country name as part of the request. In the response, I will verify the country code. So corresponding country code is displayed on the response or not, I will verify. And this I'm going to repeat with multiple sets of data. So how much data we have in database, I'm just going to repeat the same step with multiple sets of data. So this is my requirement. So now let us see how we can do that. So currently I have one test case. Now this test case I want to execute with multiple sets of data, which we have to take it from the database, that to MySQL database. All right, so first what you have to do is we need to add one data source step. So right click on the test case, add step, and here data source. So as soon as you have taken data source, just you can have the same name, or you can just give some other name here. I'll say okay. And then it is saying, would you like to automatically generate parameter values? I will generate parameters later. I can say no. Fine, it is added data source step. So once it is added data source step, here data source we have to take as JDBC. So this is the option we have to take this time, JDBC. So as soon as I have taken JDBC, it opens a new window. So here we have to create a properties which we have to use as part of request and response. And here we have to configure the connection details by which our ready API will connect to the database and fetch the data. All right. So let us see how we can configure the connection. That's the first and most important step. So before configure this connection, we need to have driver. So that is a database driver, or we can say database JDBC driver is required, because SoapUI or Ready API will connect to the database internally by using a driver. So whichever database you are using, corresponding driver we have to download, and we need to keep the driver in a Ready API folders. I'll show you how we can do this. So currently we are using MySQL database. So if I just go to the Google, and here we need to download MySQL JDBC driver. I say download MySQL JDBC driver. And now we just go to official website of MySQL. From there we can just download our JDBC driver, which is available in the jar format. You can select whichever operating system you want. You can just go to download page, and from there you can download. So we'll get small MSI installer. Once you install it, you will get the driver. So you can also find in some other websites, or not only MySQL official website, you can find anywhere MySQL JDBC driver. You can just Google it. So I already downloaded the driver, and which is available here. So this is MySQL connector Java 8060 is a version. So we have to keep this driver. As soon as we download it, we have to just keep this driver inside Ready API folder. So wherever you have installed Ready API, so under program files, SmartBear, inside this you can find Ready API folder. Inside this you will find bin folder. Inside this we can find ext folder, and here we have to place this driver. So this is the external driver we have copied here. So by default you will have SQL JDBC and Post GRE but if you want to work with other databases like Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server, we need to download external jar files, which are like basically drivers, and those drivers we have to keep inside this particular folder. And once you get this into this folder, we have to restart your Ready API. So until unless you restart your Ready API, which will not pick this particular driver. So this is the first step. Okay, so the first step is we need to download JDBC driver, and then second step, place the driver in location, exactly in whichever location we have installed Ready API. In this particular folder we have to copy this, and after that I will also provide you the location from where we can download the JDBC driver. Okay, you can just go to this link and you can download this. And once you get the jar file, you have to just place it here. And after that, you have to restart your Ready API. Then restart Ready API. So these are the steps you need to follow as a prerequisite. Okay. So then SoapUI is ready to use your driver. And one more step we have to do, guys. So if you just go to the SoapUI and go to the file, these are all prerequisites. So go to the file, and here you can just go to the preferences, and in the preferences you can find something called JDBC drivers. So by selecting this JDBC drivers, you should able to see all the drivers and connection string template. You can just look at here, and I can also expand this window. And here the first driver I'm adding is we haven't added these drivers. So these drivers along with the connection string template. So by default, these will be there in your Ready API. And if you could not find this particular entry, you have to click on the plus. Then we have to specify this particular driver name and say OK, and template we have to add. And most of the times existing ones we can use it. So if you are connecting with a MySQL, just we need to use this one. And this is the template which is very, very useful, because in the same template format we have to pass the connection. So I'll use this later. For now I'm just copying. Make sure this entry should be there under preferences JDBC drivers. And if not, you have to create it. So this is also mentioned in the documentation of your READYAPI. So I'll show you the documentation page there where they have mentioned this one. So this is our READYAPI documentation page. So here I can say MySQL driver, how we need to configure MySQL driver. Go to preferences, JDBC drivers, click on the plus, and where we need to add something like this. We need to specify the driver is like this, driver name is like this, and then template is this one. And by default, if it is already there in this list, you don't need to worry about it. So this is the documentation page. All right, same thing we have done, and make sure this entry should be there. Then close it. So now come back to the data source. So as I said, 3 steps. First, we need to download JDBC driver, then place the driver in this particular location where your READYAPI is installed. Then restart your READYAPI. And then 4th step, just make sure under file, preferences, JDBC. So just go to the file, preferences. Sorry, so I'll say file, preferences. Right, preferences. Inside this, you can find JDBC. Inside the JDBC drivers, JDBC drivers. Inside the JDBC drivers, make sure this entry should be there. So that is mandatorily required. If it is not there, you have to create your own. All right. So once we have done these prerequisites, then come back to your READYAPI. So we have to restart your READYAPI, then create a data source. All these things you have to do. So now we already created one request. We have come to the data source level. So here, what you have to do is we need to pass the driver connection string password. So before that, we need to create a properties. And if you just go to the database, in this table, country table, we have a lot of columns. But I'm not going to use all the columns as an input. I need only 2 columns. The country name we need, and this is not ISO code. So these are the country names. This is a column. And if I just come here, there is one more column called code 2. So these are actual ISO codes. So I need these 2 columns from the countries. So what I can say is I need a name, comma, code 2. So these are the only 2 columns I need. So when I run this, I'll get the data. So what we have to do is we just go to the SoapUI, and first we need to provide all the driver information. And especially for MySQL, this is actually, we have a drivers, we have a driver information. So you can just go to the Google and you can say MySQL JDBC connection string. Just type like this, JDBC MySQL JDBC connection string. Just go to any of this website, you can find something. Let's say go to this one, and you can find something called connection string. This is a connection string, and even in the official web pages also they will provide everything. Okay, so you can just go to somewhere, they clearly explain what is a connection string. So the connection string is this one, and the connection class will be this one. So com.mysql JDBC driver. So this is most important, guys. So here the driver is this one. So com.mysql JDBC.Driver. So this will also change one database to another database. It will be differ. So I'm just copying the driver class name, and connection string we have to pass. So connection string we have to pass, that should be exactly in this format. So whatever template we have in READYAPI, the same template format we have to pass. So what we have to do is, I already have MySQL database, so I'm just providing the connection details. So let us say instead of host is 127.0.0.1 is representing the local host. So the same template I'm modifying with my data, and this is actual data. You can see here JDBC colon MySQL. So this is a host actually. So this is a local host, and then port number colon port number. So this is my port number slash, here we have to pass a DB name. So this world is my DB name. User equal to user. So user is root, and password is password, and password is root. So this is the exact data I've just replaced wherever the template items are there. So this is exactly connection string. So now I'm passing the connection string here. And one more time, you can just pass the password here. I'll say root. This is my password. So driver class we have to pass, connection string, and password. So these details will be changed from one database to another database. So as soon as you pass this data, just click on this small test the current connection. Whether these connection details are right or wrong, we will know that. So once you click on this, this will give you a small window whether the connection is successful or not. So you can just click on this test connection, or you can just say go to configure, and the same details will be populated, and here also you can check. So test connection, click on this arrow, then I said the connection is successfully tested. So once we have done this, the next thing is we have to write a query here. And before writing the query, we have to define the properties. So from the table, I need to extract only two columns. One is a country name, this is a name column. The other is a code too, this is a ISO code. So these are the only two inputs I'm going to use in my request and response to perform the validations. So let us create a properties here. Click on the plus, and I'm creating first property, that is our country name. Say country name, okay. And then I need ISO code. Say ISO code. Okay, so now I created two properties. So now whatever data we are extracting from the table, the two columns which we need to assign to these properties. So what I have to do is we need to just go to the table, and this country name data will be stored in this country name property, and the code to this data should be stored in the ISO code. So we have to write a query like this. So normally if I write query like this, which will get the data, but the same query we have to use here, but we need to do small changes. Let me just remove everything. So here what I'm saying is select name, say a name as, so we have to store this name in the country name. So as alias I'm saying, I'll say country name. So this is my property. Similarly, code to as ISO code, and then from country. So everything is fine. So once it is done, so I can say how many rows we need to fetch. There are so many rows in my database. So just I want to fetch for 10 rows, and then say run. So I'm just after everything is done, so I can simply say this run button. Get the first 10 rows from the configured data source. Once you run it, it will also ask you. So I say 10 rows. So all the rows I want. So all 10 rows we need. So I'll say 0 here. So 0 means which will take all the 10 rows. So I'll say okay. So then we got all the data from the database. Now you can see country names, all country names, and then ISO codes. Okay. So fetch data we have sent 2. We have sent 10 when I run this. So specify the maximum number of rows to get. 0 equal to all. So it will retrieve all the rows, but we need only 10. So I'll say only 10 here. Say okay. So now we got only 10 rows. And after getting all the data in the data source, now we are ready to pass this data to my request. So then go to our countries step. So now we have request also, right? So request and data source we created. Now go to the countries, and here we have to get the data from the data source. So for that, what we have to do is we need to go to the form, and here right click, get data. And here we have to pass the data from the data source. So the data source is present inside the test suite, my test suite, under countries test case, under data source, country name I have to take. So country name I have to pass. And go to XML view again, this is replaced with this entry. And similarly, from the response, I need to validate ISO code. That also I need to take input from the data source. Now go to outline, and this is ISO code I want to verify. So here I'm adding assertion. So right click, add a session for content, and here this is XPath, which is automatically captured from the XML response, and here we need to get the data from the data source. So select content, and here test suite is my test suite, test case is my country's test case. From the data source I need to take ISO code. So this is a validation, and then save, done. So now we have passed the data from the data source into request as well as a response. And apart from these two steps, to repeat these two steps multiple times, we need to add data source loop step. So right click on the test case once again, add step, data source loop. So this is very, very important. So data source loop we need to add. And in this data source loop, we need to specify the what is data source step and target step. So data source step is data source. From this data source, we have to take the data. Target step, in which step we are using this data source? Under countries step. So under countries statement. So that's our test step. So say okay, now everything is configured. So now we need to run our test case. So go to the test case, and moreover, this country should be after the data source. First data source will execute, then test, and then data source loop will repeat the above two steps multiple times, depends upon the number of inputs. All right, so now go to the test case level. Now I'm going to run them. So you can say run. So once you run it, so it will take the data from the database, 10 inputs, and the same request will execute multiple times. Now you can see some of them are got failed. So you can just go to transaction log, and here you can see some of them are passed, some of them are failed. So whatever is failure, maybe the ISO code is not exactly matching with the data, so expected data. So let's see what are the failures also. And especially, okay, now we can see this is only one failure we got, one step fail. And if I just open it, and it is saying Antigua and Barbuda. So for this, I think in the XML, we haven't get any response. So because in the particular football API or in the database, we don't have this particular country. So that's the reason it could not find the related data for this particular country. So my verification is got failed. So all the rest of the steps got perfectly passed. You can see all the country steps have been executed multiple times, and it is getting executed passed. So this is how we need to perform the data-driven testing by using database as a source. The database can be any database. It can be MySQL, Oracle, MySQL, or anything. So what are the changes we need to do is, we have to change the connection string and driver class name. And we need to download the proper driver, so specific to that particular database, and keep the driver in this particular location. So these are the prerequisites we need to follow when you perform the data-driven testing by using a database as a source. All right. So that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching.